Forrest the Failure. That's what everyone called him. He used to be Forrest the Farm Boy, which was better by far. He'd rather be a humble, happy nobody than an unsuccessful somebody. Once upon a time, 2 months ago to be exact, he'd been milking the goats and minding his own business when a wise old wizard named Wildemar had come to visit the farm. According to Wildemar, Forrest possessed powerful luminous magic and was destined to prevent an imminent war between the forces of good and evil. He, 13-year-old Forrest Fogren, was the chosen one. Yes, Wildemar the Wise had plucked Forrest from obscurity and handed him a wizard staff, with which he could wield luminous magic. He also got an ally. Hargren the hero had joined them on the treacherous quest to reach Mount Luminor, where there were 7 enchanted lanterns. These lanterns had protected the land of Lumen for thousands of years, but 6 of them had mysteriously gone out. Forrest was the only soul powerful enough to relight them and save the kingdom. Except Forrest hadn't ended up saving anyone. In fact, it was his fault that the illustrious Hargren, the real hero, had died. It was his fault that the last lantern had been snuffed out. And it would be his fault when evil Umbrus wizards invaded Lumen and turned the kingdom into Shadowlands, where the sun would never rise again. Forrest could do nothing to stop it now. He had mucked everything up, and Lumen was doomed. All he could do was plod home to the farm so that he and his mother and little brothers could live out their dwindling days in the sun together. The return journey was a slog. It rained half the time, and the news of Forrest's failure had already spread. Strangers jeered and scowled and spat on his boots. As he and Wildemar approached yet another grungy inn, Forrest heard rowdy voices rising from the tavern. Encountering these crowds was the worst sort of punishment. At least one sweaty buffoon always ended up recognizing him, and then someone would sing a parody of the epic song that Barto the Bard had written when Forrest had set out on his unlikely hero's quest. Each new rendition was crueler than the last. Usually the whole crowd joined in. But even wizards and blundering non-heroes needed to eat and sleep, and so into the tavern the pair ventured. Forrest tugged the hood of his cloak over his bronze hair, but it was no use trying to blend in. The presence of the tall, white-bearded Wildemar in his sweeping bright blue cloak always gave them away. Forrest sort of wished the wizard would buzz off and let him finish his shameful journey alone. But Wildemar had summoned Forrest on this failed quest after all, and he seemed determined to see him safely home. In all fairness, Forrest had been doomed from the start. There weren't any good adjectives that began with F. Forrest the Forlorn. Forrest the Flatulent. Forrest the Fearless was a decent contender, but it simply wasn't true.